Howdy y'all, I am Ice Gold, and today I will be making a tier list actually for all of the Arc 1 and 2 Spellements. I won't be having the Beast Moon spells on here because this tier list was made by the Frenzy Gamer, a friend of mine. We did a stream the other day where we, ranked all of these on a PvE basis, but for PvP, these are my takes. So we have 6 tiers. We have Please Buff, self-explanatory, and then we've got Trash, Situational, Decent, Amazing, and then Vanilla Bean Ice Cream, which, like Vanilla Bean Ice Cream, is perfect. And then what we also did on stream was we also just had the Abyss, which basically we just dragged the spell off of the tier list entirely because it was actually that bad. Like, a buff wouldn't save it in its current state. So with that being said, Dark Sprite, we have our first entry into the Abyss. Bloodbat, also first entry into the Abyss. Imp, our second entry into the Abyss. I can't count. For Imp, we've got... I think I'm going to put this... I'm going to start off by putting Imp in the decent tier, because if, you're... Actually, I'm going to put Imp in situational because it's like, it used to be that, you could use a regenerate and just activate the full heal over time, and that would have been, like, pretty nuts. But with what they're doing with, protected heals and that type of thing, Imp is just not as great as it once was. And yeah, I would say situational. That's where I would put Imp. The activate mechanic is really neat, but it only activate one heal over time, so situational it is. For Frost Beetle, I would actually put this in decent. Y'all have seen me use this on my ice against a school that I can shield against. I could just throw on a Tri Shield and then I can use the spell. It will gambit one of the shields I have on myself for a 65% chromatic shield. The 50% here is incorrect. So yeah, decent for Frost Beetle. Thunder Snake into the Abyss. Fire Cat, I would say it's situational. Actually, no, because Troll's getting unbanned. It's going in the trash. For Scarab, I will put this in situational. It's a good tool for balance wizards to use for like stealing blades and that type of thing, but not much else. For Ghoul, this is going in the Vanilla Bean tier. Frenzy, Pluto, and we all agreed on this. Being able to just gambit one shield for 2 30% blades at the max tier is absolutely nuts, because it also breaks a shield and then drains. So right. So Vanilla Bean for sure. Troll, now that it's getting fixed, I was inclined to put this in Amazing or Vanilla Bean, because this was like actually a nuts spell. But with what they're doing with a lot of overtimes, they're splitting the damage across multiple overtimes, so Troll is not going to be as good anymore, but I'm still going to put it in the decent tier because there are some singular overtimes that are still in there, and Troll can be good for detonating those. Leprechaun, this is going to be my first entry in Please Buff. If this cleared 2 traps and then gave a heal overtime per trap, like that's a 5-round heal overtime, this would be way better for setting up heal overtime gambits. So this could be way, way, way better in my opinion. For Lightning Bats, I used to... No, I'm still going to put this in the Amazing tier. It's like, the fact that you can... This spell is pretty much responsible for halting Frostbite and Poison. So, for that reason alone, plus the 2 weaknesses, that's grabs for putting it in Amazing tier. For Fire Elf, I'll put this in decent. Typically, people don't shield against a fire because of this spell into a Scion. Like, that's pretty nuts. It would be amazing if, more people shielded fires, but they don't, so... Fire Elf will go in the decent tier here. For Scorpion, again in situational, swaps a shield and then does the damage. I think it's just like situational. You know how it goes. For Banshee, the new Banshee, I'm gonna put in decent. Because it's still a good like heal counter. It'll put 2 infections on. It used to be insane because it would turn blades into weaknesses, which kind of crazy. So yeah, Banshee is now just gonna be in the decent tier, just because like it's still a good cheap blade counter, but you know it's not what it was, and I'm happy about that. Cyclops, I'm putting this in the trash tier. I don't think there's a way that it could really be buffed necessarily. The way that this used to be good was that it would, because like, okay, so with my Divin Whiteheart strat with the hero of Chrysalis that I used on my myth, it revolved around using multiple different kinds of Cyclops, so it did way more damage when the deferred overtime eventually went off. And I thought this was really cool because they are 50% dot traps, chromatic dot traps, if the target has a dot on them. But I don't know, it's with what they're doing with overtimes just in general, I'm not too sure I'm a fan of this anymore. I won't be using it in my decks, so yeah, I'm gonna put Cyclops in the trash tier. That's where it's gonna land. So for Nature's Wrath, I'm gonna put this in the decent tier. Nature's Wrath, it's honestly like a really good pressure card if you're using Fire Elf with it, unlike a Life Wizard. So yeah, I mean, this also sets up a Primal Oni in 1 turn. I mean, not that you're probably using that, but it still does set up pretty well. You can combo with this real easily. You can heal with it, which I think is really cool. So I'm going to put Nature's Wrath in the decent tier. For Evil Snowman, this is going into Vanilla Bean. I already loved it before, but now it's like, it's a counter that puts the 65 chromatic shield onto you, which I think is amazing. So Vanilla Bean is where Evil Snowman will end up. Frenzy Pluto and I also agreed on that. So for Storm Shark, I'll put it in situational. I don't know if I would put it any higher. It's like the conditional is really good, but yeah, I think I'm gonna leave it in situational. It's a little tougher to set up. As something like Leprechaun, we're better with that. I mean, you can use Berry with it, but it's still like situational. It doesn't do as much damage to most schools, so situational, pretty neat. Locust Swarm also gone. Most of them are just really, I should hold on. I'll put Sunbird actually in the please buff tier, and then Locust Swarm can rest in the abyss, because Sunbird, I like what it does. I like that it can do more damage if the target has an overtime, but I think that if it could work a little more like Storm Shark, where it's like more overtimes on the target, the more damage it could do, I think that could be cool. But for right now, I'm going to leave it in the please buff tier. So that's just where we're at there. Vampire, Vanilla Bean, without question, 60 weaknesses are insane. I don't know why they're still there. I don't know why they're still in the game, but they are. So Vanilla Bean. Cyclops Ally is banned. Seraph, it's Storm Shark but worse. Let's be real. I'm gonna put it in trash. Ice Wyvern, I actually really like this card on my ice. I'm going to put it in the amazing tier just because it is by far our best blade counter. We could pressure really easily with it. I think my most recent ice PvP video, I was able to beat a trap stacker because I had these 35 traps. So would recommend using this if you're in ice. It's a staple card to have. Kraken, this is pretty much just old Stormzilla. I think I'm going to put it in please buff though. Kind of running out of space already, but you get the idea. It's like if these heals did more, then I could see it being better, but they don't, so tough. Immolate I'll put in situational. Like it's a good trap counter, but you know, it still does damage to yourself, so I don't know if I'm a fan. Gearhead, this is obviously a Vanilla Bean card. Swapping heal overtimes and damage overtimes, it's like this card is nuts for that reason alone. And even though, you know, most of the bigger overtimes and heal overtimes are getting changed into multiple, this is still going to be definitively in the vanilla bean tier, because, you know, even stealing one of like the rebirth ones, for example, it's pretty nice. So Gearhead goes in vanilla bean. Okay, so skeletal pirate, I'll put this in decent, just because it's like it's a decent little heal overtime counter. It puts shields on you for clearing 2, so I like it. It's a good card to have. Minotaur is going in vanilla bean. It did get nerfed to 30% chromatic traps, but Minotaur is by far the best shield counter in the entire game. Highly recommend carrying this, and yeah, it makes it so that like shield schools can't shield against you. And with how good shield gambits are, this, like, a card like this is really great to have. Earthwalker, okay, we haven't got a Stormzilla yet, but Earthwalker I'll put in the decent, situational. I'll put it in situational, because this is good if you're like a fire or a life trying to set up a gambit, but otherwise it's not that great. Like, clearing 2 overtimes, obviously really good, but you can't, it's like the after effect. It sets up an overtime gambit, but that's kind of about it. It's not really that great otherwise. So Blighthound, I don't know. I want to call this situational, because now that Banshee is gone, you can, like, I created a strat a while back where I would just blade a bunch and then bait people's Banshees and then just abuse the infects for the rest of the game. So this can really do a lot if you have the conditional met. So I like this. I like this spell a lot, but it is only situational because, you know, hard to use with buffs, because they just get Banshee, which buffs the spell indirectly, but still. Stormzilla, this is going to go in vanilla bean, without a doubt. Clearing 2 overtimes is already insane, and then the 45% chromatic blade, that's pretty nuts, so self-explanatory there. Spectral Blast, the damage, I don't know, I think I'm going to put it in the Abyss. Wraith, I'll put in the amazing tier. Spellements Wraith, just because, you know, it's like if you use Spirit Blades or like Moon Blades or something like that, this is absolutely nuts with it. So yeah, this is basically like vampire spamming. Like a 60 weakness or 65 at higher tiers is just hard to argue with. So amazing, and plus the drain does quite a bit as well. So easy up there. And then Stone Column, obviously gonna go in vanilla bean, clearing weaknesses before it hits, and then applying a deferred dot for 180 damage per curse that you clear off. That's pretty insane. And then it does a total of 615 at max tier, as opposed to the 585 that it says on the card. So Stone Colossus, easily an S tier card. This is one of Myth's greatest assets, without a doubt. Centaur is the best trap counter in the game. I'm going to put it in amazing because of that. It's really good on the life. It's good for pressuring. Colossus, I'll put it in the please buff tier. I don't want to cover Kraken too much, but I feel like this would be better if the curse clear came first. For the 55 traps, because it would kind of be like the real old Colossus that was a big problem. But personally, I think this is way better, because you need, oh wait, no, Gambit's infects on the target. Okay, so I don't know, I think this would be good, because it is 55 traps and it doesn't do as much damage as it used to. So yeah, please buff Colossus. Say less. For Triton, that's going to go in the amazing tier. It's a really solid heal overtime counter, and the 60 blades that it gives you, the chromatics, are really good as well. So I would recommend that every school carries this, because it's just such a good heal overtime counter. So for Elephant, I'm also going to put this in amazing. I would say this is one of Fire's best cards, especially now, because you clear 5 shields, up to 5, for 150 chromatic dot, which is like really good. It's like every shield adds 150 to the dot, so that is pretty neat. And then 445 or 490 technically damage is pretty good. So Elephant is going in the amazing tier for that. Hydra, I'll put this in the situational because it's like the echo mechanic is now better, so it's like shield stacking versus a balance is still not really advised because of the spell. So the damage has fortunately gone down by a lot, but yeah, it's a situational card, but if there's a situation where you can use it, I think it's really good. Scarecrow, I am actually going to put this up in the amazing tier. Yeah, that sounds about good. I was about to put it in decent, but this is the new ultimate blade counter. It's much more expensive, but it's blades to curses and 40% weaknesses chromatic at that. So this is like a really good blade counter for Death. I would recommend that Death Wizards carry this. It's pretty solid, so without a doubt. For Orthrus, I don't know. I'm gonna put this in situational, I think, because you're gambiting 4 shields for this, or up to 4 shields, and you would get deferred dots on the target, but they don't really do that much. Assuming that's how it works. I mean, it could be that you can get up to a 500 deferred dot on the target, but that's still not that great. So, yeah, I'm going to put it in situational. Forest Lord, trash, without a doubt. It gambits the blades before the hit, and it's an overtime anyway, so yeah, I don't see myself using that at all. You could use it with Gen, but, Frost Giant is situational, I'll say that. It's a really great blade counter for ice. Wait, who am I kidding? I'm putting this in the trash, dude. Ice Wyvern exists. Wyvern is so much better as a blade counter, so yeah, I don't think a buff would really do much for this. So, Frost Giant, Path A, Frenzy actually left this one in, and I did want to talk about it just briefly, because Frost Giant did get buffed. Max tier now does 615 with the stun. I wish they had still gotten rid of the stun in favor of a little more damage, but I'll take the win that we can get. They pretty much took away the value of the stun on Frost Giant, which I thought was a good move. It satisfied, both, or all 3 technically communities. The people that wanted the stun gone for more damage, the people that wanted to keep the stun, and the devs themselves for not wanting to add a Path C. So they went about navigating this kind of well, I would say that, but it's not a PvP spell, so I'm just going to put it up here. Stormlord, plus 70% chromatic blade per heal over time on you. I don't know. It's hard to argue with a 70 blade, but at the same time, it's like you would need to bury into this to make it useful, and at that point, the person just shields. So shields just sort of make that spell fold. For Fire Dragon, this is sort of like Immolate in or better Immolate technically. So I'll put it in decent, but it does 1,000 damage split across 2 overtimes for 5 turns, which I think is good, and it clears 5 traps on you for more dots. So I think that this is a good spell. It's a really good trap counter. It's better than Immolate was, so I don't know, I'd recommend it. I think it's I would say I would run this over Immolate just because of that. It does cost more pips, but, clearing 5 traps for a bunch of dots, just burn people to death, you know how it goes. For Power Nova, this is undoubtedly in the Vanilla Bean tier. It's on our when Frenzy Pluto and I, when we rank the PvE spells, we put this like a little lower down, like I think decent situational trash, somewhere around there. But the reason why I'm putting this in Vanilla Bean is because, to my knowledge, Hydra TCs, the damage Hydra TCs, are not banned. So if the person tower shields, you can just damage Hydra and get the most value out of your Ice and Storm heads. Or if they elemental shield to prevent that from happening, you can Power Nova and do mass and then gain a bunch of pips back. So yeah, that alone I think is going to keep balance like very in the game. So yeah, Power Nova is very, very strong right now, just because like you can threaten either this or a Hydra depending on what shield the opponent uses. So yeah, pretty strong spell there. Skeletal Dragon, I will put this in the decent tier personally. Scarecrow is better in the sense that it's blades to chromatic weaknesses, whereas Skeletal Dragon is just blades to blades, but it does a lot of damage, so I'm not going to put it into situational just because of that. Like it does mass, and it can help set up another hit, so I don't know, I like it. Medusa, what Frenzy Pluto and I, what we did with Trap Gambits was we just took them off the list entirely. They are just not worth using, especially because you need to like use Spirit Traps to set them up, and that's a whole lot of effort. You know how that goes. And so it comes to this. Rebirth. To say the absolute least, there should be a tier above Vanilla Bean. Frenzy and I joked about it before we started the stream on Tuesday, that like I would want to put this in a tier above Vanilla Bean, because this is the spell that is going to be having me quitting PvP when the update drops. You heard it here first. I will not be doing PvP when the update drops, because this, especially with no copy limit, is going to bring back Jading in full force. This does, at its max tier, 2,325 healing across 3 overtimes for 5 rounds. And then the cherry on top is that it's an absolutely insane trap counter. It gives 20% universal blades, so yeah. A problem that I've seen happen is people will, get to close to max pips, and then they'll do like they'll be at 12 pips, they'll do adapt, and then they'll use this into another rebirth, and then like they'll dark surge into another rebirth, and then they'll still have enough pips to combo like a Devim Goat Monk type deal. So it's pretty nuts. This spell's existence, like, I will not be doing PvP because of it. So yeah, this spell is absolutely insane, without a shadow of a doubt. So yeah, this spell, I would say ban it for PvP if you want Jades to not come back. So if any devs are watching this, do that. For Snow Angel, off the board. It's a Trap Gambit. Whiz what a whiz. Leviathan, I'm gonna put this in trash. Just because Stormzilla just does practically what Leviathan does, but just way, way better, for less pips. Because the after effect from Stormzilla is a 45% chromatic blade. Like, tell me that's not insane. While Leviathan, on the other hand, will put just 35% universal weaknesses on the target, and it costs a lot more pips for barely any more damage. So Leviathan is trash, without a doubt. Ifrit, this could be really like used in conjunction well with Fire's other overtime spells, like Immolate or Dragon. So I'm going to put this in Amazing, just because it can do so much damage over like 6 rounds. And it's like one Ifrit can do so much. And it doesn't even gambit the overtimes either. So you could just Ifrit back to back and just like do mass with it. So it's like you could even Ifrit into shields. That is how good this is. So I'm going to put it in the Amazing tier. I'm a little shy putting it in Vanilla Bean. I would say this is like at the top of the Amazing tier if I had to order it in any way, but I would be dragging a lot of spells back and forth if I was doing that. So is what it is there. For Ra, I don't know. I don't really see people blading too much, and I don't really see them using as much blades, or as many blades rather, as they would shields. So it's like Frenzy Pluto and I, we talked about Power Nova versus Ra in PvE, and it's like bosses and stuff are more likely to blade than shield, but in PvP it's flipped. So I'm gonna put this in trash just because I don't foresee myself using 8 pips on a balance to do 500 damage and then just get pips back for all the blades that they use. So that's my take, though. It could be a good combo maneuver, but I don't really know. I don't see myself using it. Dr. Vaughn, I'm going to go ahead and put this up in Amazing because it is the best counter to Rebirth at present. And I think that, I mean, clearing this many heal overtimes is really, really good. Like, this is the best way to answer Rebirth. And I like it. It puts on 55% infections. Like, it's hard to argue with that. So it's a really good counter, but the problem is you need, like, if you're against the life, you need to have 9 pips at all times to be able to use this. So yeah, it's not getting into Vanilla Bean because of that. It's like it's really good otherwise, but Death's using this spell. Like, that's kind of gonna be the only people you see beating life these days is Deaths that just carry max copies of Vaughn. So go crazy, I guess. For Basilisk, I mean, just look at it. Clear up to 8 shields for 50 shields on yourself. That's nuts. All right, like this is the ultimate shield counter because it's just Jin's defense on roids. So yeah, plus it's like literally I was talking to Frenzy and Pluto. I said I would use this just to clear the shields. I would use this just to get shields on myself. I wouldn't even care if the opponent countered the 2 deferred dots. So yeah, I mean, from a utility standpoint alone, this is going to be in Vanilla Bean. And then if these 2 dots that do 500 each, like if they go off, then you know, then the spell's pretty insane. For Gnomes, I am going to put this up in the Amazing tier. This is basically like Hungry Caterpillar, and then if you have more heal over times on yourself, like, you know, you can heal a ton with it. So it's going to be another one of those jading cards. I'm expecting to see a lot of life wizards using this. This is like a direct buff to life because of that. So yeah, Gnomes is going to be going up in the Amazing tier. Woolly Mammoth. I really like this because it's like Stone Colossus but for ice. The problem is I don't really think it does enough damage. I would say like it does good damage, but I feel like it loses damage because of the clearing effect. So this, I really like it. It's going to be one of Ice's best cards going forward, but I don't know. To each their own. It's really, really great, but it's going to fall just short of Vanilla Bean. So that's my rationale for that. Sirens. This is one of those where you could just like use a bunch of Tri-Blades and then use this, assuming people don't use like Scarecrow or Skeletal Dragon on you, but I think it could be good because it gives 65% chromatic blades. So, you know, gas. Rain of Fire. I'll put it in decent. I was thinking about putting it in Amazing just because of the sheer amount of damage that you could do, but Ifrit does it but better, in my honest opinion. So yeah, Rain of Fire is going to go in decent. For Chimera, off the board. Echoing Overtimes is it's not great. I wish Gearhead did that because it would be like way cheaper, but Chimera is just not Chimera is just not it. Okay, so Avenging Fossil. This actually got Giga buffed. This actually does, I think, 950 at the max tier instead of the 540 that it says. So I think if you're like a Death threefold spamming, this is going to be your best friend because you could just sort of use this back to back to back. I've seen clips of Jacob Roseblade using it, and he was able to beat Sauce's Fire with it, so neat. Like, just being able to do this back to back, I think is really powerful, assuming you have the conditional set up. So it is a pretty solid card. For Celestial Calendar, I feel like it does enough damage to not be off the board, so I'll leave it in trash just because it's a trap gambit and nobody's going to be using enough spirit traps and whatnot to really make great use of this. So that's just my take. Spinosaur. This actually only... I can't even speak. The conditional actually only gives you 1 pip per overtime cleared, so I'm going to call it situational. It's just not that great. It does a lot of overtime damage for a life spell, but the conditional, it's like you're dumping 10 pips for this, and people will just Stormzilla and have blades. So cool, I guess. For Lord of Winter, this I'm gonna put it in trash because at that point it's like if you have 4 shields and 10 pips, you're probably just gonna like aura into a tree at that point. So that's just how I see it. For Storm Owl, I'm going to put this up in Vanilla Bean. This is a pretty insane spell. It does a lot of damage, and if you have heal overtimes on you, you can just do this back to back to back. It's pretty nuts. I would say it is pretty wild. So Storm Owl is going to get into the Vanilla Bean tier. Sun Serpent, I'm going to put just 1 tier above Spinosaur into the decent tier because it does the exact same thing. Except it has a much better after effects. It's a good trap counter, and it like Spinosaur, it only gives you 1 pip back from what I found out yesterday on stream with Frenzy and Pluto. So yeah, it's got a much better after effect, so that's why it's getting above Spinosaur, and it just does more damage. So and it's on school, it can leverage overtimes better. So you know, it's pretty good. Sabertooth, trash. Awful damage. It's like it's good against a life that uses rebirth, but even then, it's like you're not even out damaging the rebirth because it doesn't clear the heal overtimes. So Sabertooth, I'm gonna put that in the trash. So all that we've got left at this point are the 7 King Arts. So for the Death King Art, I think I'll put this in the trash. It's like there's a lot of other things that Death Wizards can do with their extra blades than, you know, just get shields on themselves. Like Wraith costs 2 less pips, gets more value because it's a drain, and it's got better value in that it puts 65 weaknesses on as opposed to 55 shields. So Wraith just outclasses this. There's no reason to ever use this King Art. So all I'm saying. For the Myth King Art, I don't know. I will put this in situational. It does clear 5 curses for 50% myth traps. It says chromatic, but it's the only school that can get it. So, and then it does the 2 deferred dots in the last 5 turns. So it's just too easily countered, in my honest opinion. And then if you're a death, you're probably not going to be 3-folding a myth anyway. So yeah, that is my take on King Art. It's situational at best, which is why I'm leaving it here. For the Life King Art, this is just go up but worse, put it in the trash. For Ice King Art, I mean, Mammoth just does this but better. Also going to be in the trash. And then for Storm King Art, off the board. Just keep it a stack. It's off the board. For Fire's King Art, though, Fire, like this into a Rain of Fire, if you're using like Adapt, which I'm honestly expecting to see a lot of Adapt strats coming up with this update because of just how many pips these all cost. So I'm gonna put Fire's King Art into decent just because it can be used well in conjunction with Rain of Fire. So that's my take on things there. And then for the Balance King Art, Echo 5 weaknesses. Yeah, you're off the board. So this, y'all, is the finalized tier list. Yeah. This is in my opinion, the PvP tier list for all of the Arc 1 and 2 Spellements. So let me just move over the ones that I think need a buff. And yeah, this is going to finish up the video. So yeah, this is the finished tier list. So thank y'all for watching. I've been iSkull. Be sure to like, subscribe, and leave like 50 comments for the algorithm. My Discord is down in the description if you want to chat with me some more. And I'll see y'all later.